Soundcheck Stories is the podcast that explores the journeys of DJs, musicians, and creatives as they navigate the challenges of the music industry. On this episode, we sit down with selector, radio host, and actress Angel Mel to discuss her path into music, the challenges of imposter syndrome, the fight to thrive as a female professional in a male-dominated environment, and her heart for well-being and good mental health in the creative sector. Angel Mel, is so good to have you with us today on the Soundcheck Stories podcast. Thank you for coming on today. It's really good to have you with us. We've got so much to unpack today. There's a lot to get to. I'm really looking forward to kind of hearing your thoughts and your take on things. But there's a lot to get through. So I want to start off just really by asking you about your love for music, where it started, because you've got a really sort of wide and eclectic taste, and I know it's been quite a journey in there for you as well. So yes. I'd love to hear about your early years and the influences, what inspires you as a DJ, as a selector. Where did it all start?
Really, my parents, massively into music. I think we didn't have very much growing up, but what we did have was music, and my mum had a huge vinyl collection, which was reggae and loads of Motown, especially Diana Ross and Marvin Gaye, which sometimes used to drive me insane. But I've come to love it now. Yeah. And she always used to listen to reggae pirate radio stations as well. Okay. So my mum always said about me, I could dance before I could walk. You know, that was just innate in me from when I was a real wee one. And my dad was the same. My mum and dad would send mixtapes. They didn't live together. My parents are separated, but they would send each other mixtapes, and that was always reggae and soul. So, I mean, I always loved it. I was a Top of the Pops baby as well. I just always wanted to be on Top of the Pops. That was my dream. So any way I could absorb music, I would. And the great thing about my mum is that she was a bit of a selector as well. So alongside the Motown and the reggae and the soul, would get things like 808 State and the Smiths and the Clash and then all this more and the Cure and some more indie music. So that was the foundation. Wow, I think of me as a child.
It's a very rich musical heritage and a lot of and a great sort of context to kind of musically to sort of grow up in. And what was the transition into DJing? Was it something which you just kind of found yourself doing? Was there a moment where you thought, yes, I'm just going to go down this way, or was it? How did that kind of birth?
It's a really interesting story, actually, Luke. I was working. I've got to try and get the timeline right, and it's because I was going to a festival that I loved, Southport Weekender and Sunsea as a punter. Loved it. And as an offshoot of that, I then started being helping to promote nights. So I was the cheerleader. Yay, come to this particular night. These events in Bristol called Good Vibrations, where I met lots of like-minded souls. I was also started doing radio at the same time. So I was doing local community radio, and I had shows on there. And while this was all going on, I had an actual day job that I hated. Okay. I absolutely can't tell you. It made me ill. It was that bad. And it got to a point where I had workplace burnout, and I had to take some time out. And I decided right there and then, I can't go back to that work. So what can I do? Okay. What do you love? Music and exercise. So I just did a 180, and I left my 8-10 year career and what I was doing. And I just started in music. Initially, I started, what did I do? I had an agency. I just had this idea to start a DJ agency with no prior experience whatsoever, never been self-employed before. But I just had this passion, and I had this gut instinct that I knew I had to do something. So I just followed it. And from managing a few artists who I really respected and loved, I got invited to have my first DJ job in Ibiza. Right. I'd never been on the decks prior to that. I'd always been on the other side. Right. And this was through someone who was doing the programming at the festivals I that I was going to. But lovely Gavin said, look, you know good music, you have a radio show, you're clearly, because I also at the same time I was writing reviews and interviews for the artists I love, so online, so I was doing all that, and so it was all building towards something. So I went to Ibiza for 2 weeks. It was this stunning family run beach club kind of restaurant, just really luxurious, looking out to the sea, and what they wanted was someone who could play just beautiful, luxurious soundtrack to these surroundings, and have such a huge wealth of knowledge. That's what I did. I paid for 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I did that for 1 to 2 months for like 6 or 7 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was it.
That's amazing. So you went. That's a leap into into DJ. That sounds amazing.
I had to learn how to use the decks. Like I never was one of these DJs that was in the bedroom practicing. It was never my intention to become a DJ. I never even thought that was in my thing. But that's what unfolded.
Wow. And you're predominantly vinyl. In terms of what you play, is that right? You're mostly vinyl.
Yeah, I've got some vinyl. I don't tend to do as many. I'm doing a vinyl set next month, but this month actually. But I don't tend to play vinyl as much as I'd like. It's mostly like USBs now. That's like the standard. That's just what I do.
Can't beat the convenience, but you know, but it's good to hear. But it's good to hear. But it's good to hear that you're still, that you still got your some vinyl.
I'm never going to get rid of my vinyl collection. I'm just, I love it, and it's when I get an opportunity. I haven't got a turntable at the moment, which is really irritating. So I need to get a turntable. But whenever I listen to my records, it's like reuniting with old friends.
Right, mate, of course. Amazing. That's a great story. That's a fantastic story about just that quantum leap, I guess, into like from. I know you were kind of in the industry and doing a lot of things, but then to step in, but when to get that Ibiza residency. I mean, that's an amazing kind of like step up into into things. And I guess from there, then have you? And because I know we'll get to your radio work as well. But from there, so did the DJing? Did you carry on running the agency at the same time, or did the DJ work just kind of take over for that?
Yeah, the DJ work took over. It was really weird. It took over, and then I would start doing things like local bars, and I just got like a little residency that I would do like every week, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm making money from this. I'm doing 2 days a week, making some money, and all right, it's not huge amounts. I was with my partner at the time, but it was like, okay, this is cool. I'm doing what I want to do, how I want to do it. And so the agency it was strange. It just kind of, and essentially I was running it by myself, like a glorified admin assistant.
Sure.
It's a lot of chasing, a lot of ruthlessness. Like you need to be like super duper organized. I try to be organized, but I'm not the best. Probably the creative temperament. Like I really try so hard, but I am still working on that and still working to improve it. So the gigs became more. Okay. Yeah, they just increased.
Wow. And you're predominantly Bristol based, right? And so was the work that you were getting relatively local into the Bristol scene, or were you further afield than that?
Sort of more to the Bristol scene. I'm trying to sort of cast my mind back, and then there's all these opportunities started to come in to do the different festivals around the way, and everything just kind of snowballed. Really, I think the job I was doing before when I was working at the bar, that bar closed, and then I was invited to join a DJ agency, just a small one that does high-end bars and places like that. But then that kept that side of things ticking. I call them bread and butter work. So the bread and butter work kept going, and then I would get invites, as I said, to do festivals and club nights and stuff. So it just started to grow, but it took me a while to get my head round. That's what I do now, because I never felt that I was a proper DJ, because I don't necessarily like the mix DJ. I'm a selector.
Right.
You know, I love creating vibes, and I love songs, and you know, the sort of ebb and flow of things. I don't want to be stuck in a BPM. I like to say I'm not bound by the BPM. That's my saying. So it took a lot to kind of get my head into the fact that no, you are a DJ. This is what you do, and you are making a living. That took a while.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, interesting. And
Imposter syndrome, that's what it's called.
That's the thing, yeah. And it's you know, it's something which is particularly in the music industry, we know is rife and I think all of us on a level will probably experience it, suffer from it a different degree. Do you feel like you're kind of through that now? Do you feel like that's something which you've kind of put to bed?
Yes, only just. I mean, and then the last couple of years, it was really hard, you know, and just I felt that I was really judged because I didn't play the same style, the same way. But I think a lot of that, there was probably an element of that, but I think most of it was in my head. I'm like the felonious monk on the decks, you know, you hit all the keys and it kind of sounds wrong, but it's kind of right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like that, having like the technical wizardry, but so much of what I do is about the performance that I give whilst I'm doing it. It's an exchange of energy and engagement. So it's all wrapped into it. And that's when I realized actually no one can do what I do the way that I do it.
Exactly. That's really good. Wow. Yeah.
Embrace it. And so that, yeah, I feel way more confident now.
That's fast. That's really interesting. And do you think that critique, was it predominantly an internal thing, or was it also fueled by external viewpoints, do you think?
I think again it was both.
Okay.
It was working as a, you know, like most of my mates are DJs and they can, you know, mix the hell out of anything. And then and so, you know, going to perform and then having guys, men always, come and alter the decks in some way whilst I'm on it, or do something that they wouldn't do to each other that was kind of undermining. So there was that, but I learned how to deal with that. I would just like this is my space, like you need to just step off, like you learn your boundaries in a polite but firm way. Get out of my space. And then the other stuff was internal because I was trying to catch up to this life I was living, but didn't feel that I was good enough. I wasn't the real deal. But the evidence of the bookings that I was getting was suggesting that yes, I am actually, you know, and that was my evidence, and that helped build my confidence.
Interesting. Wow. And do you feel that is something which, as a woman in the industry, which you pointed out, you know, predominantly, you know, it's is that in your experiences, has that been that kind of has that been a systemic struggle with a lot of other people who you worked alongside, like men have kind of come in and really kind of just been that patronizing, domineering presence? Because we know it's has that been something which you've experienced and which your peers have experienced as well?
Yeah. And even fairly recently, and etiquette behind the decks is really important to me. I always think if whoever's played before, stand back at the end of their set, clap, give them the space. Thank you very much before I go on. I'm just kind of polite like that. But recently I had someone who, when I was doing my last song, and invite them to put their USB in, but I'm still doing my last song. And what they did was then they stood in front of me and took over the song that I had been playing, and as if it was theirs. And I thought, well, I've got at least 5 minutes. I know I'm not quibbling, but do you know what I mean? Like, and no acknowledgement because this track was a really good one and it was getting a really good response. It just kind of jumped on it. It's like, haha, this is mine now. And then the next song that they chose to mix into it was like 1.5 minutes long. You know, sort of after they finished, we went to get my USB and I was sort of batted out the way, and I thought, no, that's rude. I don't like that. I do. I'm very, very good at I won't work with that person again. they've got weird vibes.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
it is
Fair
sometimes,
enough. Yeah, yeah.
I think there are people that I work with who think that they should be doing more than what they are, or should be in a higher position than they are, and they're not. And sometimes that comes out when you work with them. It's a kind of a weird energy.
We also touched briefly on this, but your DJing work is also, you've also been a lot of radio work as well, in terms of Radio Bristol and Angel Mel. Can you tell me a bit more about those, about that work and your heart behind that?
Oh, I just love radio. Just love the medium. Always did. I think when I was a kid, just find it like it's like my complete and utter happy place. I just really, I mean, that's the mission. I want to get broadcast position on national radio. That it's just something that I fell into, like the DJing. Really, I went and did a fundraiser. It was a music event, and I went on local radio to promote it. And I had such an amazing time with Kizzy Morel. That was the person who interviewed me, and I was like, "Oh, I love you. I love this. I really want to get involved." And so I just started to volunteering. Essentially, I lived in Bath at the time, and I would travel to Bristol every Saturday and do the Soul to Soul show with Mel and Carmen Carroll, bless them. And then it just went from there. I was just following feel good vibes. Like, I love this. This is brilliant. And I then got my own shows and started to produce my own shows, and would do live streams and so on and so forth. It was just, I love engaging with people. I love playing music on the radio. I love that way. It feels like talking to somebody one-on-one. It's just, it's a real passion of mine.
Amazing.
I find it easier to do radio than I do DJing, if I'm honest.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm way more comfortable in a studio behind a microphone than I am sometimes behind the decks. I don't get as nervous as I do when I'm about to perform on the decks. Yeah.
Interesting. That's definitely a happy place. Wow. Okay. And as part of that, as part of your radio work, I know you're also quite interested in, you also run a feature called Wellness in the Music Industry, and I really want to kind of pick up on that. And I just want to hear more about that and what your motivation was for setting, for setting up that feature.
I think I've always used my radio shows called the Spread Love Show on Ujima Radio. Quick plug, Tuesday 6 to 8.
Get it in.
And I've always used the show as a platform. I just feel like if you've got this opportunity to speak to people, to share ideals, then use it in a positive way. And primarily the show focuses on women and non-binary people in the music industry. It's very kind of led. And I would do all kinds of interviews and guest mixes and so on and so forth. But this particular show, Wellness in the Music Industry, came off the back of the summer. Every summer for me, when I'm doing festivals and events, is relentless. It's insane. And I get to meet a lot of people who are in a similar position. And by September, we had pretty much on our last legs. And I wanted to use the wellness in the music industry to have conversations with people who are in it, who are doing it, about their experiences. What is it that they do in order to manage it? Because it can be crazy, late nights, early mornings, loads of traveling. So how do they do it? And I wanted to focus on certain aspects of it. For example, I had Celestine, who's an amazing singer, on talking about parenthood.
Right.
She's off touring. She has 3 children and three children, and including a little baby. And she's in the Maldives at the moment, sort of touring. So how does being a parent in the music industry, how do you balance that? How do you balance your wellness with it? And there have been some fantastic conversations that I think it just allowed people to take a moment to reflect on what they do and why they're doing it and what was working well. And when they've had issues in the past, how they've overcome it, or even if they're still trying to find a solution to it. So that's what I've loved. I've had a bit of I've done a couple of interviews, and then I've been away, so I'm going to jump back on it again next week. But they've been incredibly insightful. And I think, and to anyone who's looking to enter the industry, that's one of the perspectives that I view it from. If someone's listening and thinking, oh, I would love to do that, how do I do it? That's what the show incorporates as well. So it's getting that dialogue, that correspondence between the two of us about what it's really like.
So true. That's so needed, because there is this perception that it's glamorous, that that you're living your best life, that you're living the dream. It's this, and it's really not like that at all. It's and to have that, and to shed light on as you say, on the realities of what it's like working in this industry, and putting up with a lot of the pressures and the demands upon you. We've got to talk about this, and I think and I guess it's also, as part of it, you're kind of sharing wisdom and experience as to how best to deal with it, how best to anticipate it, how best to cope with it as and when it comes along. Can I ask, is this something which was born out of your own experience then, from experiencing burnout, from experiencing just the strains of touring? Is it something which you felt very passionate about? Was there a critical moment for you, or was it just a general feeling of, we need to talk about this?
I think it's just useful. I'm trying to think. It wasn't born out of anything in particular.
Okay.
But it's also, for me, I think because I'm self-employed, so I spend either a lot of my time on my own, or then I'm like doing gigs and doing the radio. So it's a really weird kind of balance. And I also find it useful, so probably a bit of personal, like little therapy for me, that I get the opportunity to speak to people who are in similar situations, and we get to talk about what it's like. I get to kind of ask them questions, and sometimes there's a little bit of validation in there. I think, oh, thank goodness I'm not the only one who feels like that, or has experienced that, because it can be quite lonely. And that's something that's come up again and again and again when I've spoken to people, that it can have times when it's alone, when you're lonely, or actually when it's financially really quite difficult, especially you're having to make sure you keep those plates spinning, you have to keep on hustling, all those things, all those different components that really probably don't get shared enough on Instagram. And all those things, because people say it to me all the time, oh my God, you're doing this, that, it's amazing. I'm like, yeah, it is. And it's also really hard work. Like, it's to maintain it is like a full-time job. It's I could go and get a like a part-time job doing something, but I've learned over the years, then if it's not in line with my goals and my purpose, then it just takes away. It just takes away. So those are the sorts of things that have been really interesting to talk to people about, and their experiences, or dealing with harassment in the workplace, all different types of stuff, which is kind of at the beginning of the series, really.
That's really exciting.
More.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think that, like you say, unless you work in it, you can't really explain it to anybody else. People don't get it if they're not part of it. They don't understand. They just they're seeing the Instagram highlight reel. They're seeing all the great moments. When you smashed it, and it's just and unless you're living in that, unless you're part of it and experiencing yourself, you can't. It's very hard to explain to somebody else the pressures and strains that people are under, and that's also part of the reason why we're doing this podcast as well. Can you do you have any, whilst on this topic, your obviously health and fitness are a big part of your life as well. Huge, yeah. Can we talk a bit about some of your tips or ways in which you look after yourself in terms of your mental health and well-being, and also your physical health as well, as being a full-time artist? What are the things that you do, employ for good self-care?
I've got a really good off switch. Rest, knowing when to, like, I'm working tonight. I think I'll be finishing about 1-2 in the morning. So I'll have a nap. I'll have a disco nap. Like,
Amazing.
I won't, I've been up since early this morning. I've done my exercise. So I'll make sure I take a rest. I do practice a lot of mindfulness and meditation.
Okay.
I find that really helps. I do lots of affirmations as well before I go to bed, when I wake up in the mornings, kind of throughout the day, to keep myself kind of mentally in alignment. Really, I think that's the best thing that I do when I'm working. Oh, like exercise wise, actually, running. Love to run.
Okay.
Love exercise. I've always loved it. Like, I absolutely have to do something at least several times a week. Like, I just legit, I said to someone recently, you cannot have this lifestyle and not look after yourself. It's
Right.
just not conducive. Gone are the days, I think, really, when you used to get the hardcore DJs up all night doing this, that, and the other, and then hardly any sleep. It's not sustainable. Like this, if I can't work, then there's no sick pay for me.
Right.
Like, I have to show up. I have to be fit and well and healthy in mind, body, and spirit. I just have to do that. I try not to drink too much at work, although I do love a Prosecco when I'm DJing, I do. But I always drink pints of water.
Okay.
This is what I learned through one of the jobs when I used to work in one of the bars, and people used to buy me drinks. I'm not a massive drinker, never have been, but they used to buy me drinks, and I would say to the manager, like, I can't drink these. And she said, well, just get them in anyway, because it's more money behind the bar. And then I would go home and I'd be sick. And I thought, I can't do this. This is awful. I hate being drunk. No, slack behavior. So I'm really quite controlled when I'm working. I'll have a couple of drinks, lots and lots of water. I'll have a good time. But the most important thing for me is how I turn up professionally as well. It's the rapport that I build with the people I work with, have a really good reputation. So all those things kind of tie into just being ultra professional and not messy. And I've seen people who've done that at work I've been working with, and just like, no, not for me. Those are the main things. And just knowing when to take time out. I'm much better at that now. I think being self-employed, I always felt really guilty about having time off. And then I would work and make myself kind of ill. And just completely run down. So I don't do that anymore. So there's lots of different things. Eat really well as much as I can, really healthily. But all this stuff that I do now has come through nearly 10 years of honing what works well and what doesn't work so well. What is it that I need in order to make sure that I can turn up and do what I do to the best of my ability, have fun, make sure that the people that are watching me are having a good time, and that I just like turn up and smash it out the park. So that's my little processes that I've learned over the years to do.
So it's so vital, and it's and I think, as you said, and again, as we touched on earlier, kind of overlooked. Everyone just thinks it's about having a great time, and sort of, but it's not. But there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that no one sees to ensure that this is a sustainable career. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I wanted to ask about future and current projects. Can I ask about dreams and stuff that you've got lined up, things that you're looking forward to for 2024?
Well, yeah. So the overarching thing is to do more professional radio. I think that is something that I'm very keen to pursue. With the BBC changing and stuff, it's a really interesting kind of landscape, I think, with radio at the moment, and with the rise of celebrities and stuff. I won't go into that, but you have to be creative. So that's always in the back of my mind. What can I do to ensure that I'm doing more radio work? But I never run one thing. I never do just one thing. My habit is I seem to run several things alongside each other. And before I was a DJ, although I said I hated my job before, prior to that, I was a counsellor.
Okay.
And I was an addictions counsellor, and I actually love that. And I love working on one-to-ones with people in group work. So what I'm going to do to help with the DJing and alongside everything else that I do is to become a life coach. So
Oh,
that
wow.
is what I'm bringing into 2024, something that I can kind of, it still includes all the things I'm good at, all my skills, expertise, my passion, and I can work it around sort of the DJ work as well and have a small caseload. So that's what I'm looking at, and just building. I had a bit of an epiphany, another epiphany, that sort of DJ work, because was never my like ultimate goal, but here I am and I'm doing it, is to really kind of take it to the next level. So I'm gonna have these two things. I for whatever reason, I can never just do one thing at a time. It has to be and this and this and this and this and this and this. The two tie into each other. I feel like they will bring out the best, I hope.
Definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my plan, and keep doing what I'm doing, keep growing and evolving and doing great things. One of the amazing things about being self-employed is the freedom to choose when opportunities arise and create new ones, and I love that. So I'm also open to see what happens in 2024, like leave some space for whatever might come through.
Brilliant. Love that. Thank you. That sounds amazing. Really excited about that. Great to see how that maps out for you. That sounds really good fun. And set question which we ask all the guests on this show. I'm excited about this answer, but I don't put it on the spot or anything. But is there a piece of music or is there a track that changed your life? I know this is a big question, right? But is there anything which comes to mind that you think, yeah, when you heard that, something changed?
Yeah, there is actually. My mum playing 808 State Pacific Ocean.
Wow.
I got goosebumps just thinking about it.
Interesting.
And when I was 8 years old or something, 7 years old, because I loved that song. I loved it and I loved it. And I think that particular song was my entry into dance music.
Right.
Like even when I was little, I was like, oh my God, I love this. It was like the gateway that like the door just opened, and everything to do with like dance music, I just like a sponge, just like, oh, what's this? I want to learn. I want to know what's new. I want to know the music that came in the past, but I think that one's the one that immediately springs to mind. Maybe after we finish, I think, oh, I should have said that one. But yeah, 808 State.
That's great. That was a great choice. Wow.
Yeah.
What a classic. Awesome.
And being so young as well. I think that's the thing, being such a little kid and having such a real reaction, a love for this track. And my baby sister hated the song, so we could never play it when she was awake. We could only play it when she was asleep.
Amazing. So cool. That's a great choice. Love that. Okay, cool. Angel Mel, where can we find you on socials, on links, events, web presence? Where can we find you? Where can we check it? Yeah, check out your stuff.
Everything is under Angel Mel Selector, spelt the traditional way, I suppose, selector, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook. I've got a link tree as well, Angel Mel Selector. Just come and give me a follow. I'm really grateful that we had this opportunity to chat today, because I literally saw your podcast and reached out to you and said, I'm doing that. So this is a great example of how social media can work in a really positive way. So thank you, Luke. I appreciate it.
So good to have you on today. Genuinely really, really grateful that you came on today. Thank you. And also your radio shows, when are you broadcasting as well?
Well done. So Angel Mel Spread Love Show is Tuesdays, alternate Tuesday. So I'm doing next Tuesday. I can't even tell you the date because my calendar's still on November. I haven't actually managed to change that yet. But it's Tuesdays 6 to 8 on Ujima Radio, which is spelled Ujima, and it's on DAB, FM, and online as well. So that's Angel Mel Spread Love Show. And then I work freelance for the BBC, the Kevin Filliman show, kind of as and when. But the show on Ujima is the main one.
Fantastic. Awesome. As I said, thank you so much for coming on today. So good to chat to you. Really, really excited to see what 24 brings for you as well. And yeah, thank you for sharing your wisdom and your experience. So really, really good to,
Yeah, my
really good to
pleasure.
chat. Thanks, Angel Mel. Bless you.